He's a nomadic freelance web developer with over 20 years of programming experience. Steve knows firsthand how even if you do, quote-unquote, everything right, you can still get fucked up by things beyond your control. Tonight, he is going to share how his business was fucked big time by an unforeseen incident in Honduras. Steve.
All right, before I get started, I've got to say, you guys are awesome parents. Bringing kids to events like this is how they learn, so that is absolutely amazing. Now, how do I work this bloody thing? Right there.
Give it a try. See if it
All right, does it work? It works. All right, so my name is Steve Craig, and I was a nomadic freelancer. I'm now a corporate whore for G5 in Bend, Oregon, and we'll get to why I am that. Taking a look at this picture, it's completely unphotoshopped, taken by one of my friends, and it really kind of summarizes the theme that I'm going for, which is even when you're chill and you think everything's cool and your life's cruising along, the sharks can be circling and you may not see them coming. So a little background, I have a master's degree in computer science. I did both my bachelor's and my master's in 4 years, and I never wanted to see another fucking computer again after that point. So I went and became a scuba diving instructor, and I moved to Roatan, Honduras. Whoops. Where the hell is Roatan, Honduras? It's between Guanaja and Utila, of course. No. It's a tiny island off the north coast of Honduras in the Western Caribbean. Got some really sick scuba diving. And at the age of 22, I just up and moved there to, go for 3 months, try it out. And that turned into almost 5 years. Because it was awesome. I got to share my passion. I got to see cool stuff. And as it grew on, I just kept extending my visa, bribing the immigration officials, whatever it took to keep it rolling. And I absolutely fell in love with the island. I had a fantastic job with a great dive shop. Shout out to Coconut Tree Divers if you ever go there. And partied a little too much, had an absolutely amazing time. But it was a developing island. When I moved there in 2004, there was no cell phone service. There still, to this day, is no proper mailing addresses, even though the island is quite developed. And I started thinking about it. It's like, I'm making little websites for people on the side, keeping some extra cash coming in to supplement my basically scuba diving allowance is what it was. And I started thinking, well, hey, how do people know if they book a hotel and they book a dive shop that they're even remotely close to each other on this 100-kilometer long island? And so I came up with the idea of this website, this web platform, marketing platform, hotel booking platform, advertising platform that was going to be called This is Roatan. And in 2007, I began development on it independently, kind of got some help from a couple people around the way, including the amazing photographer who took the first photos that you saw, and started developing this platform that would use Google Maps to kind of outline where things were on the island, how you could find them, how far they were apart. Some parts of it were pretty ahead for its time. Now they've since been eclipsed by things like Airbnb and Agoda, but I was kind of along the right path. And I still feel to this day that I was kind of along the right path. I have no idea would it be successful or not because of a couple events that were beyond my control that hit me like a brick wall in June of 2009. Those events, see that cabron on the left? His name's Mel Zelaya, and he was the president of Honduras at the time. And he was good buddies with this guy, Hugo Chavez, the president of Venezuela. And Honduras had this law in their constitution that a president could only serve 1 4-year term. And anybody who said, hey, I want another term, had to immediately step down to try to prevent, dictatorships, which is kind of what Central America is known for. Well, Hugo said, hey, Mel, I changed my constitution, why don't you? So he said, hey, I'm going to put it to a vote to the people, and the Congress said no, the church said no, the Supreme Court said no, and he said, you know what, I'm going to do it anyway. So on June 25th, this guy, Roberto Micheletti, who was his vice president, sent the army to his house at gunpoint, forced him on an airplane, and kicked him out of the country. Now, I just came off a scuba dive. I walk in, and my boss is like, yeah, we might have a problem. The president has been kicked out of the country. And I'm like, okay, what does that mean? I was literally at about probably the 80% point with my project. I was planning on launching it within the next couple months. I'd already started to sign people on to the advertising platform. And I was like, uh-oh. So the rest of the world, including then Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, along with about 100 other people, were like, hey, that's a coup d'etat. Micheletti, he was part of the same party, he's like, no, this is constitutional process. And you might be wondering why you've never heard about this. It's because that guy died about the same time. Thanks, Michael. So while the rest of the world was mourning Michael Jackson, my life was falling apart. Very, very, very quickly. These are pictures from the mainland of Honduras. As Americans like to say, shit met the fan. So I was not living on the mainland of Honduras, but immediately, like effective the next day, we went under complete martial law. 24-hour curfew. At one point I came out of the house and was trying to drive into town to get some groceries, and a cop stops me, and I'm like, hey man, I'm trying my best Spanish, and I'm like, I know I need to go buy some groceries. And he's like, no, amigo, lo siento. And I'm like, well, no, I need to go. And he basically says, that's between you and God, but you got to go back to your house. So we were under a complete 24-hour lockdown for about 5 days. I was down to a stick of butter, I think 2 strips of bacon, and my cat, and I really didn't want to get to eating the cat. So things did gradually lighten up a little bit after that, I think. But we were still on like 12-hour curfews. And while I wasn't there with people burning torches and going up against the Honduran Cobras, I was still completely fucked. There was no business. Tourism, my dive shop the previous year had certified 2,200 people. We were having 2 people a week, and we all pooled the money. And of course, this big project that I've just started, nobody can pay their bills. Nobody has business. We're all just passing money around and hoping we don't have to rob each other in a couple weeks. And so I've watched this project that I had thrown almost 2 years of my life into, my life savings, hours and hours of my time, my entire passion. I believed in this island. I was starting my residency process. I wanted to make a life there. And this is what I was left with, a ghost town. A ghost town in which literally everything can get ripped out from underneath you with no warning. And so I stuck it out for maybe about 5 months, 4 months after that, and I was broke. I had about $700 left. Moved back to the States. Let me tell you how long $700 lasts in the States. Doesn't. And so that was an extremely hard blow. And he said, Steve, you let off with, even if you do everything right. Did I do everything right? Looking at the project, maybe, maybe not. I never got the chance to know. Because life, no matter how much you think you're in control of things, the sharks can be circling. You could have no idea what is about to happen that's completely beyond any element of control that you have. And that's really the biggest takeaway that I had from this experience, was you can do your best, and that's what you can do. But your best may or may not be good enough, and you may never have the chance to know. But the train of life, the train of your business, the train of your dreams doesn't stop just because you want to get off. You have to keep moving. You have to keep trying, even if it means you're literally one step from living on the street, but you've still got your laptop. And as long as you've got that laptop, you can try to find a job, you can try to generate income. The fact that I'm here now is because I kept going. It wasn't easy. It took a lot of counseling. Bit of post-traumatic stress disorder, I'll tell you that. But you gotta keep going. And you've gotta be okay with both your fuck-ups and life fucking you. And sometimes, sometimes it's one way, sometimes it's the other. Sometimes it's both. There were a lot of good takeaways, though, from being in that place where my back was against the wall and I just had to grind out of it one line of code at a time. I've become a much better worker. I've become much more self-reliant. And I have the confidence that, yeah, of course, I'm gonna fuck up, things are gonna fuck me up, but that's the way it is. And the other big thing I took away from it that night, that right after Michael Jackson died, the night of the coup, I met my wife that very night. So sometimes you don't see what's about to happen. Sometimes things happen for different reasons than what you expected. But you just keep going. Thank you.
There's a theme here. Life is what happens when you're busy making other plans. Does anybody have any questions for Steve?
Were you able to take your build and apply it to any other application?
The question is, were you able to take your build and apply it to other uses?
Yes, no. By the time that I went back to revisit it, Google had moved on to version 3 of their maps, and so my API was more or less obsolete. But the things that I learned from it in terms of content management systems, that's currently what I work on. So I was able to take a lot of the rough parts and continue to polish them and turn them into a career.
What's the situation there now? And will you ever go back?
I was last there in 2011. I plan on going back again to Roatan itself. I've got friends there. Scuba diving's great. Mainland Honduras is still unstable and actually has the highest murder rate outside of a war zone in the world. So certain parts you want to avoid. The Bay Islands are absolutely fine and open for tourism, and I encourage people to go there and check them out.
Just don't get murdered at the airport on the way. Question back there, yeah?
What's your favorite dive site in Indonesia?
Favorite dive site in Indonesia? That's getting personal, don't you think?
Coolest place I've ever been diving in Indonesia was in the Raja Ampat Islands off of West Papua. It is what the world used to look like, and it completely changed my baseline of expectations and showed me how much damage we as humans have done over the last 200 years. It is jaw-dropping. It is extremely hard to get to. It is extremely worth the effort.
Here.
Thank you, Steve.